So we will get started. So hello, everyone. Thank you all for joining us today. My name is Andrew Carrillo, and I am the recently elected Associate Students President for the 2020-2021 academic year. I will now hand it off over to my predecessor. If you want to introduce yourself.
Hello, guys. Hello, Gators. This is PK, your current serving AS president, and this is good to be here with you second time for the president-to-president interview.
And we have with us today our very own university president, President Mahoney. So if you want to introduce yourself to the audience.
I am so happy to be here. Thank you, Andrew. Thank you, PK. I'm Lynn Mahoney. I'm the San Francisco State president, San Francisco State University president.
All right, everyone. So to start this off, we would like to take a moment of silence for the recent deaths and the national crisis that is going on in our country. So if you please all would want to join us in a moment of silence, please bow your heads for a moment of silence. Okay, so PK, I will hand it off to you now.
All right, thank you, Andrew. All right, welcome everyone for our second president-to-president interview. As we know, like last time, we answered a lot of questions that students had, and we saw a lot of the concerns they had. So this time, we also took the questions you submitted to us from last time, and we'll be answering those questions along with a lot of other questions, and we'll be clearing a lot of about a lot of issues and a lot of help that the university could provide you. So without further ado, as we know, this time we have three panelists. We have University President Lynn Mahoney. We have Andrew Carrillo, who is the current, who just became the current AS president, and I am PK, as you know, like the previous AS president. So we want you to keep a look on the chat, and we'll be taking questions just as the last time. We are correcting questions on the chat. So during the interview, if you feel like there's some question that you would like to ask us, please put those questions in the chat box, and also keep an eye on the chat box for some information that would be relevant to the questions we will be answering. Thank you. And without further ado, we could start with the first question. I'll hand it over to you, Andrew.
Yeah, actually, PK, before we start with the questions, I just want to acknowledge that we are wrestling now with two profound national tragedies. One is the global pandemic that has cost the US more than 100,000 lives. I think we're at 107 or something this morning. We're anticipating more illness and more death. It's had a horrific impact on the environment, on the economy. It's a tragedy. It's a national tragedy. It's a global tragedy that we're wrestling with. And then on top of it, in addition, the US continues to wrestle with its 400-year history of racism and white supremacy. And that has manifested itself in a grossly disproportionate impact of ill health and death in the African-American community due to COVID and other marginalized communities. And then in continued state-sanctioned violence, as in the murder of George Floyd, which we opened with a moment of silence. So I cannot fathom the pain that our communities are in, that our Black students and their families are in, that all of our students are in. And so I just want to let folks know that I'm conscious that this is a really hard time. And I'm very grateful to Associated Students for giving us an opportunity to get together virtually to have a conversation. So thank you.
Yes, thank you, President Mahoney, for those words. So we'll get into the questions. So the first question is in the realm of the current national crisis that is going on. So given the current national crisis, what is SFSU doing to support its Black students? What resources are there that students could use and utilize?
I'm very proud of our Office of Equity and Community Inclusion under Fred Smith's leadership and our Black Unity Center under Tarshell Beards. Yesterday, they provided an opportunity for our community to get together to express their trauma, to express their rage, to be together in great sadness. I'm also proud of our community in the sense that Student Affairs and Enrollment Management, our University Police Department and Public Safety have all come out with very strong messages condemning state-sanctioned violence and white supremacy and supporting Black Lives Matter. I'm grateful to our counseling and psychological services who have made themselves readily available through telehealth for this. But I'm also really conscious that we've had enough words. We've had enough of people acknowledging a 400-year history of white supremacy and violence. And so what are we going to do about it? So I'm really proud to be at San Francisco State, where our professors of ethnic studies, our professors of public health, professors of criminal justice, and there are many other fields who are devoting their research and teaching careers to anti-racism work. But we need to do more. And another area that I am very conscious of is that the greatest thing we can do as a university is to make sure that COVID-19 doesn't fracture the pipeline for African-American students, Latino students, first-generation students to come to college. So one of the things we're going to do is work really purposefully in the next few months and beyond to ensure that we continue to provide and actually grow the access that we provide to marginalized communities to come and get their degrees.
Thank you.
And thank you for answering that, President Mahoney. We have a lot of information that students could take away from the chat as well. So as we talk about all these resources that are available to you and all these events that the SF State community is having, you could get those information from the chat right now. Moving on, we'll move on to the second question. This question has popped up on a lot of forums, and it has been one of the favorite questions from students from the previous session. It has been, will the local fees be lowered to fall 20 students, like the mandatory fees that the school charges?
So many of our mandatory campus fees support programs that are ongoing. Mm-hmm. We've moved our student health services, both student health services and CAPS, to telehealth. So they're still available. Again, it's different. It's not the same. It's just like instruction. It's not the same. It's different. It's probably not nearly as satisfying, but it's really important that we continue to support those units because many students need those services, even if it's remote. Things like Mashouf, we're going to move as much of its health and wellness program as we can move remotely. But we also need to support those because we still have to pay for the building, and the building has to be here because this is temporary. I can't tell you when it's going to end, but gosh darn it, it's temporary. We are going to be back on campus together, and we're going to have fully functional services. So most of it is continuing to support those programs or the facilities. But there is a fee, and it's a significant one that is different than all the others, and that's the Gator Pass. And I believe that's about $180 some odd a semester. Someone will correct me in the chat function. And we are working with the city, with MTA, to change. That's a contract we have with them, but we are working with them to reduce it. So I think you'll hear soon that fee will be dramatically reduced for fall.
Perfect. I would just like to remind the audience, if you have any questions, please feel free to put it in the chat as well as the Q&A function, and we'll be answering your questions if there are any. So this goes right into the third question, President Mahoney. So will some campus facilities like the library and Mashouf be open in the fall semester in some capacity?
So what we're doing right now is we are working on accommodating the very small number of courses that'll be offered in the fall. So to take a step backwards, nothing is causing me greater pain than having an empty campus. I was there today. Campuses should not be empty. They should be full of students. But as both a historian and as someone who avidly reads science journalism, we're looking at a second wave that's going to be more devastating than the first wave. So I have to ask everything that gets asked of me, I have to say, well, what's the public health consequence? So what we're doing now is we're looking at the number of courses that'll be offered on campus. We're submitting a plan to the chancellor next week. Be very few, and then we're going to work backwards from there. What do we need to have open to serve that small number of courses, But my ultimate goal is to have as few people on campus in the fall as possible to keep people safe. So with that, we're going to review the library to see if there's a possible way to keep part of it open for students or for faculty who need it. But it's going to have to be driven by whether or not we can do it safely. And that doesn't mean just for the people who use it, but for the staff who have to clean it and sanitize it. So we're looking at every piece on campus and seeing what we can open safely.
Thank you.
I don't have an answer yet, but I will promise we will have one probably by July that I can share with you.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you for that. I guess students can't wait to get on the gym again, on that climbing wall again. Everyone's like ready to go back to the gym. All right, so the next question that we have is that, like, as we know that Mashu, a lot of services on the campus employ student staff. So the next question coming from, I believe, one of the student employees is, how is the university looking to support the student staff?
So one of the most heartwarming things about the last few weeks is the number of students who are begging to come back to campus, and faculty and staff. When we first made the announcement back on March 9th or so, there was some jubilation expressed in social media by some students who thought, great, we're getting a 3-week spring break. The jubilation died really fast. And what's been really heartwarming to me is you all want to come back, and we all want you to come back. And that includes our student assistants. So what we're doing now is we are working to get our student assistants work done remotely. We still need tutoring. We still need peer mentors. We need orientation leaders. So as much of our student assistant work that can be done remotely, we will commit to hiring those students. So we are looking at, there may be some things we can't do remotely, so there'll be fewer student assistant jobs, but a lot of them we're working very hard to get remotely.
Okay. So moving on to the 5th question. So given that CARES Act funding was distributed, and because of the current federal government, funding for the CARES Act was not allocated for our DREAMer and undocumented students. I know that the state of California is working on some financial support for our DREAMer and undocumented students, but specifically in regard to the university. So how will you provide undocumented students with resources and help during COVID, during this pandemic?
So we've done 3 things. We recently hired a new interim coordinator for the Dream Resource Center. Our coordinator took a position at Cal State Long Beach, but we were really lucky and fortunate to have a very talented professional working on campus who'd worked with Dreamer students for a long time. And so he's accepted that position. So we have very good leadership of the center. We also quickly identified so the way that the state funding worked is it went to nonprofits who could then distribute it to undocumented Californians. So we got the names of the nonprofits and help to our students so that their families could access those resources. But this week, I'm really happy to announce we were able to find some funding that students who are not eligible for the CARES federal funding, but who are eligible for state university grants and for state financial aid could get automatic disbursements just like the CARES Act. So we've got several hundred students who received direct aid this week in the same way that other students received the CARES Act. And then our Hope Crisis Fund remains available for everyone. We're focusing our resources, our advancement and development resources, on continuing to build that fund. We were able to raise over $500 in the last half of this, $500,000 over the last half of the spring semester for Hope Crisis Funds. So we're going to continue to focus on that.
Perfect. That's really good to hear.
Yeah, I believe yesterday we, in our one of the last AS board meetings for the previous year, we approved funding for the same students, and it was like our way of getting like just sort of like whatever we could do to support these students and undocumented students. So
you know, let me just say something that's been very touching. The number of faculty and staff who have contributed to the Hope Crisis Fund, and some have committed to donating every month. They're supporting it on a monthly basis. So. We have a lot of people who care. There's a lot of need out there, so we have to continue to really work hard to raise funds.
Yeah, and I would just like to add, I think that speaks volumes about the campus community and the fact that we will get through this whole pandemic end this crisis as a campus community together, working together. So moving on to our next question. So what is the university doing to support its international students, given that San Francisco State has such a high number of international students that attend?
So we received some sad news yesterday that our study abroad programs, our exchange programs, our students studying abroad, international students studying here for the fall semester, they've been canceled across the California State University system. They've also been canceled across the University of California system. But we will have a good number of international students here in the fall, and these are graduate students who are already in the United States. They got their undergraduate degrees at other CSUs or UCs. We also have a good number of international transfer students. So we will still have international students studying here in the fall. And we have probably the strongest Office of International Education in the CSU. I see PK nodding. I'm hoping he's availed himself of those services. And they still remain staffed and open virtually, remotely. So please, any international students with particular problems or questions, please contact that office. They're there to help.
Yeah. Thank you for that information, because like a lot of our students, a lot of international students I talked to were concerned, as in like if it is already expensive to live in the city. So they wanted to know like if the university is not going to be in face-to-face, whether they could plan out going back to their respective countries and like working out the college from there.
This is where they need to contact the Office of International Education, because the State Department has rules about that.
Mm-hmm.
They should contact, but most of our international students are actually already living in the United States, attending community college, attending another undergraduate institution, and coming here for graduate school. But they should really contact the experts. There are a lot of rules here. Let me also say a word, and you may ask me about housing eventually, but our housing program has remained open through this for students who have no other choice. Again, residence halls are really not the safest place to be in any volume during a pandemic. You can't physically distance. It's hard you're sharing bathrooms, you're sharing rooms, but we've been able to keep open a number of beds. We had about 300 students here in the spring. We're planning for about 500 next fall, and international students who don't have housing would be in a group that would qualify to apply for them.
Mm-hmm. So another question is like, we have been having this issue in the school where some students complain about not getting enough seats in the classes. So now that we have moved to an online forum, are we taking measures to make sure that there will be more open classes for like open seats for students in the classes coming this fall?
The provost and the dean of undergraduate studies spent a considerable amount of time prioritizing classes. And so one of our greatest priorities for fall, it has been for a number of years, but we recognize we have to do it better, is students have to have access to the classes they need to graduate. So yes, we are prioritizing those. I would urge students who have faced persistent problems with access to classes to email me, to let me know where the bottlenecks are, because I know our provost and Jennifer Summit and Lori Beth Way are both interested in addressing that.
Perfect.
Perfect. So moving on, this kind of goes hand in hand with the university decisions to go practically fully virtual. So will the university provide supplies like laptops or hotspots for students that need it and don't have the capacity back at home to participate in their classes?
So we received 2 waves of CARES funding. The first funding went directly to student aid, but the second one, the institution was able to use for things that are COVID related. So we have set aside a considerable amount of money to provide laptops, hotspots, other specialized equipment, and also professional development for faculty who want to teach remotely better. So yes, and there'll be information forthcoming about how students can access the technology that they need and who they can contact. I want to tell you one story about a faculty member who emailed me, and I've never met this faculty member before, but he emailed me to say, you know, this was not fun at the beginning, and I didn't think I could do it, and I thought maybe next fall I won't teach a course. He's a part-time faculty member, And he and his students worked together, it's an engineering professor, to figure out how to use Zoom to teach differently. And they actually learned a lot from each other. And by the end of by 2/3 of the way through, he thought, you know what, I can do this. And so he signed up to teach again. So I think a lot of people just want to get the equipment they need to do it better and learn how to do it better. So yes, we have funding for that and we will provide help.
Thank you for that, because the next question was almost on those lines, because we have made sure that students have all the support that they need to make sure that they have all the equipment and a better connectivity to attend the classes online. But do we, on the other hand, have we equipped the professors to be equally have all the resources that they need? And on top of that, the second part of the question would be, you just talked about the funds that we have for those kind of like, for bettering the efficiency of teaching during fall. So is there any plans going on around like how and like what are some of the ways you could discuss on like we are planning to implement those?
Yeah, so there's discussions about creating kind of ways for students who are local to pick things up, way for us to mail things to students who are not local, because again, we don't want to require people to travel. So that planning is underway, and I think by middle of July, we're going to have most of our plans cemented or confirmed, and we'll be able to share those. And let me talk about our general philosophy through all of this has been we want to protect public health, want to protect the health of our own faculty, staff, and students, but we also want to make sure that students have progress to degree. And one of the things I was very grateful for is how quickly our Senate worked, our academic Senate, to create flexibility in grading policies, for example. So our academic Senate approved those policy changes through the summer, and they will review them again in the fall, but their philosophy, my philosophy, the philosophy of all my colleagues remains the same. We don't want to do harm to students or faculty. We want to enable successful remote instruction. And thousands of students took advantage of the flexibility in grading policies. So grading policies, academic support, telehealth, technology. We're going to figure out how to do this remotely so that you succeed next year. That's our goal.
Thank you for that.
I was on mute, but here we go. So more so regarding first year experience, this is a question in regard to that. So what will the first year experience look like for a student just coming to SFSU? What can they expect from orientation, and what platforms will they be able to be utilized to network with students on a virtual university?
You know, I mean, my heart breaks for all students, because being together on campus, being at Cesar Chavez, sitting on the lawn, all of this is such an important part. Or our performing arts students who aren't going to be in their theaters, or our fine arts students in their studios. But for freshmen, I've thought about this quite a bit, because I have to be honest, if I'd been a senior in high school and this had happened, I would have been sobbing at the thought of having to stay home. You know, I was so ready to go. I was ready for this. And so I can't imagine how disappointing it is. But we have such a talented team working on orientation and first year. Danny Glassman, Lori Beth Way, Chris Trudell, Grace Yo. These people are doing phenomenal things. So I have every confidence. We're going to do this remotely. Orientation starts next week. And we've changed some things, obviously doing it remotely. But also we've got great plans for the first year. All of our freshmen will have one-on-one advising. And we're going to make much more extensive use of peer mentors, because what I think students will really want is that peer-to-peer connection.
Exactly.
What is it like to be at San Francisco State? And I want to promote a course. We're going to have a 1-unit virtual, someone will put in the chat what the actual name is, but it's a course about studying in San Francisco and seeing San Francisco, living in San Francisco. Thank you, Lori Beth. Take the 1-unit course, because what you'll do is you'll take that 1-unit course, you'll learn a great unit. And in addition, that when you do get to campus, which will happen, you'll be able to jump into the life of the city. It is a spectacular city. It will be a spectacular city when this is all over. So we're gonna try to get as much virtual, high touch with our first year students. And there's also work with the English department and our academic programs to make sure that the remote learning is spectacular. So again, it's going to be different, like everything's going to be different, but we have a talented group of people preparing some really fun stuff for students. Oh, I have to always remember to promote Gator Guides. Those of you who will be participating in orientation, we have an online app, and that's a really easy way to stay connected and learn what's going on.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. And I can reflect, like, we've come a long way from when I started in 2015. We had those leaflets and those posters guiding students like what to do and like where to go. And most of the information was on website, but like we've got this app now, so like students know like at each moment like how many events are going on during orientation, so they don't miss out on like all the programs that the orientation team is creating for them. And going ahead, we have another panelist who will be joining us for asking a question. So let me introduce the Dean of Students, Dean Danny, who will be asking the question. Welcome, Dean.
Hello, everyone. Welcome, Gators. I'm excited to get to ask one of the questions that came up, and I'll do that throughout the rest and the remainder of the interviews. I also wanted to add, as the person that works with Student Life, that although it's going to be a virtual and remote world, in the fall, we are working tirelessly with our team to create a student life at home or wherever you're at. So we are going to bring programs and engagement to you. So Gator Experience is our platform that we use for student involvement and student organizations. And it's something, if you've gotten your SFSU email, you can already log in and start utilizing that. And so it's the way that our student organizations engage. We're going to post all the events, programs. We have over 200 plus webinars planned for the summer. So during new student orientation on Wednesdays, we call it Webinar Wednesdays, there's a host of programs you can be attending to learn about the university and the programs and various supports. So just a very exciting time, but also I've realized we all can't wait to get back on campus to host those programs. So the question that came up in the chat for the panelists is about international students, those who are F1 immigration status. And how do we keep them or work with them considering the unit requirements are only up to 6 credit hours for online, they can remain with us. So any advice or anything that you can share about our international students and their F1 visa statuses and how they can continue with us?
Yeah, I just want to reiterate what I said before. The Office of International Education is the best resource for any student with a question about international education, visas. These are complicated legal issues, and so they're ready to help you. And maybe we could get that the link posted for folks who are asking questions.
Mm-hmm. Perfect. Thank you for that. And I'd also like to just remind the audience that like we are definitely sharing a lot of information on the chat. So if you have any doubts or any concerns about those as well, you could definitely ask those questions right there. And we'll be our team is continually working on getting answers back to you. So please keep in attention and take the information you need from the chat. Moving on, we have one question that we discussed about earlier. It's going to be about the housing issue. So we want to know like what will the housing program look like in the fall semester? Going into a few details about that.
So we're starting everything from what face-to-face classes we'll have on campus, which will be very, 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 very few. And so students who are in the face-to-face courses who need housing will prioritize. And some of them are short-term courses where you're just going to spend 2 weeks in a lab. Students who don't have access to housing, our guardian scholars, our international students, and then there are other students for whom we are their primary address. So we'll prioritize those people. If after we get through those, there's some space available for what we're allowed to keep open, what we can safely keep open, we'll contact students and have some of that available by a lottery. I just want to reiterate that as much as we love having residential students, we love having students close to campus, rest halls are really hard places to keep people healthy. At full capacity, they are dense. And so we're going to have a very small housing program. But again, if you are housing insecure, we have our basic needs housing. If you have nowhere else to live, contact housing. We are prioritizing those students.
All right, thank you for that response, President Mahoney. So moving into those people that do have to be on campus in some capacity, whether you're professional staff, especially student staff or something in that regard. So what is the university doing so that people living on campus or working on campus over the fall feel safe and protected? Is the university cleaning these buildings often? Are there any safety measures being taken?
This is one of the reasons we can't have that many people on campus. We've got to keep faculty, staff, and students 6 feet apart. We have to track, and if any of you've been out, if you've gone to a grocery store, you see they've evolved patterns for getting people through. Or today, for example, we had Gator Groceries open, which will remain open through the summer and the fall for students who are food insecure. But we've got to track them. They've got to come in one way, go out another way, stay 6 feet apart. And so we are working carefully on plans to limit the number of buildings that are open, to be able to monitor the flow of traffic in a building so that people can stay safe, to have personal protective equipment available, have hand sanitizer available, and have those bathrooms that need to be used regularly cleaned. So again, it's restricting access so that we can maximize the safety. One of the things that I've been most proud of, this has been a very hard semester, but we have only had 3 reported cases across 30,000 people who studied and worked on this campus. 3 cases that have been confirmed to us. All 3, as far as I know, have recovered, including those that are working on campus right now. So we've done a good job, but we're going to continue to do a good job. Public health has to be our #1 priority. Just has to be right now.
Yep. Thank you for that. So I had a question in mind about how, during the fall semester and the spring semester, the campus was very lively. Like there was a lot of events happening on the ground, and there was always these club activities that students were going to. So I think we have come on a different way from there, on a different direction, where we cannot have that, and we cannot promote that exactly the same way as before. So how are the student engagement activities and the club activities going to change in the fall semester?
Well, I'll answer it, and then I'll ask you a question because you're key to this, or I'll ask Andrew this question. But we have to do in student life what we did in instruction and what we're doing in instruction. We have to spend this summer perfecting remote engagement. We had 4 days to do this in March. It was mind-blowing, right? Now we have the summer to plan. So how do we do this remotely? So in the same way that faculty have been working on instruction, student life and activities is working on doing this remotely. And so we have to find new ways of engaging. And I should tell you something I'm focused on is how can I create access to me so that I can, one of the things I love best about my first 9 months on campus was I had lunch almost weekly with a different student group. I went to Cesar Chavez and said hello to all the student groups that were outside. I found opportunities to just stay hello. So now I have to work 10 times harder to find those opportunities and create them. So I think we're all in the same boat. How do we do what we did differently? And we've just got to come up with new ways of doing it. And that's also about connecting our staff with each other. Everybody misses each other. And so we just have to find remote ways of doing it. And we will. And the good news is that students tend to be more technologically savvy than those of us well over 30. So we just have to actually learn from you how to do this better. So let me flip this back as a question to Andrew, because I'm sure AS is having the same conversation. And what thoughts are you all having about how we can do this better remotely next year?
Yeah, so over the summer, I know associate students will be doing a lot of game planning on how we could create a virtual, vibrant community on a virtual platform by supporting student organizations so that they have the opportunity to still host events on, let's say, Zoom, by supporting them in, if they want to invite a guest speaker from, let's say, New York City, they have the opportunity on Zoom to host them, whereas they didn't have necessarily the opportunity prior to the whole pandemic. So there's massive opportunity for students to still be engaged. I know AS programs are working diligently on creating fun and engaging ways so that students still feel a sense of home and community here on campus. I mean, my generation, PK's generation, most of our lives really go into social media. Our lives are really, our whole life we've been surrounded by advanced technology. So I think we've grown accustomed to such platforms. We've grown proficient in handling them. So we will definitely find ways on staying connected. It's really associate students working with student activities and events, and student affairs will be creating programs so that Gators still feel like they're part of San Francisco State University.
I will say I noticed something last night. I was playing a board game with my daughter, who's 28. And so here we have an opportunity for face-to-face engagement. And she kept turning to her phone to be on social media with her friends. And I reacted like a kind of cranky mother and said, here we have an opportunity to do something face-to-face. And she said, but look at what I just got. And it was a cute picture she'd just gotten. So, I found it's just after, yeah, people will adapt.
Yeah. And I just like to add that we associate students and the university, I'm sure, will be really utilizing our social media platforms, really building that up, staying connected with the student body by posting videos, posting infographics. We're also working on a full fall calendar for our programs. So, you know, we will be really advanced in utilizing these different platforms.
Mhm.
But I guess we can move on to the next question. So it's more so a more fun question for you, President Mahoney. So how are you holding up during this quarantine? Are there any new hobbies that you may have? Any new books? Any new TV shows or movies you've watched?
You know, I like nothing more than to be with people. So I never thought I'd say this, but I'm dreadfully missing meetings even. So yeah, so and most of my day is spent on Zoom, like most people's days are now. But I have perfected a recipe for bread that does not need kneading. You can imagine I don't have a whole lot of time, and it's called no knead bread. And the first couple of times I made it, my family gave it very poor reviews. I think my daughter's exact expression was that you live in a city with the best bakeries in the world, and this is what you're serving. But the last loaf last week got high praise. And then I actually do go out every morning, for almost every morning, to walk around the neighborhoods around campus. And that's really nice. We live in a beautiful area, and so being outside is wonderful. But also, I get to see what people did. And I don't know if you probably can't see it, but I took a picture this morning of some sidewalk art. Not pictures of sidewalk art. And I took a picture this morning that some kids had done supporting Black Lives Matter. And it was just, there are so many inspirational things out there. So I also tend to be an optimist. The last 10 days, that has not been easy. But even amidst the last 10 days, I look around me at the people who are doing good things. Mm-hmm. So, but for me, it's getting outside, and then I have to take the walk because I'm eating the bread I'm making. So there's a correlation there. And I'm currently binge watching actually, I guess there's 3 episodes in a row on an evening make for binge. Is that binge?
That's a short binge watch.
A short one. I've been watching Occupied, which is I think it's a Finnish political drama. And I've got a jigsaw puzzle I keep going for moments of great stress. But, you know, I think like everybody here, I'm just trying to stay connected with other people. And Saturday morning, I'm going to have coffee with my college roommates. You know, I try to have a glass of wine with my sister once a week, all via Zoom. So I think like everybody, we're just refiguring out how we're connecting. PK, Andrew, how are you? How are you handling all this? And what are you both doing?
I'm doing a lot of Netflix shows. I try to do a lot of home workouts. I've gotten into cooking. It's really hard because my parents are exceptional cooks, so I really have some high standards to meet. But keeping active, taking a run around Lake Merced nowadays. So just enjoying the beautiful San Francisco sun. So yeah, that's pretty much what I'm doing. I will be finishing one of my books that I've told myself that I've told myself this whole year that I will finish. So I have the time now to do so.
Well, myself, like I've been cooking a lot lately because earlier when I used to go to school, there was like a lot of good options right there. So you could just go grab anything from the school. But now I guess we installed an iPad in the kitchen. So like anytime someone goes to cook, you open YouTube and like whatever the best thing you could find, like you just go for it. So like I think we've been cooking a lot lately. And other thing I've been doing is I've been working on my applications and like making projects. So that's been taking some of my time. Like trying to move on to the next part after graduation. So trying to transition from that, from being a student to a new graduate. Yes. Yeah, Dean Danny here as well.
Yes. Hi, everyone. We've had some really good questions come in related to what you all just shared. So I'll start with President Mahoney, but then follow up with both PK and Andrew. So your bread recipe, it is definitely, everyone wants to know what's involved in it and how they could get access to that recipe.
I will send out a link at the risk of being immodest. It's a Mark Bittman recipe from the New York Times. However, when I made it at first following his directions, didn't turn out so well. So I changed it a tiny bit. And what I heated up, he didn't heat up the water, or his directions didn't say to heat up the water. And now I heat up the water to 115 degrees. And I do believe I have a photo somewhere as well. So I will share that and I will get that out. But it is ridiculously easy. Most of it happens while you're sleeping.
Oh, okay.
It is awesome. We might have to get a video of you making this. Might also be something we work on. Andrew, you mentioned that you're reading a book. So the question that I wanted to ask you is, what book are you reading and where are you at on it?
So of course, me being a political science major, it is the decline of the middle class and the middle class republic. So taking a look at the United States and its strength is the middle class and the working people. So reading that book, and I'm a quarter way through. It was heavy, but now I have the time and energy to finish it.
That's great. Thank you, Andrew. And then PK, it sounds like for Andrew, it might be helpful to also know some lighter things to do on YouTube. So what do you look at on YouTube? Anything you'd suggest to those listening in on fun things to see on YouTube or interesting things?
I would say on YouTube, like a lot of times it's just music. You get distracted a lot on YouTube. So I kind of started I got this HBO subscription, and there's this documentary series that you could binge watch. And it's documentaries about things you've never thought of before. And like, it changes your perspective on how people are thinking about, like something that didn't matter to you, but some people are breaking it apart into ways that you've never seen before. So I've been following like a lot of documentaries lately, and I'm enjoying it. Like, it's better than, I used to watch a lot of Netflix and TV shows before, but I think like it wasn't giving me anything back other than entertainment. So like I get to learn a lot from like these different documentaries. So I mean, if I would say it's more like a nerd thing. So if you're into documentaries, then I could suggest some good documentaries for you guys.
Andrew, someone wants to know what you're watching.
I finished, what was that show? Well, put on the spot. I watched multiple shows at the same time. What's that show? Well, I recently got into Mrs. America on Hulu. It's a really good series. It ended, but if any of you happen to have Hulu, I watched that with my mom when I was back in San Diego, and it's a really good show that shows you the struggle of the women's rights movement really interesting. A lot of great actors are in it. I am definitely a fan of Kate Blanchett. It was a really good show. And I think we have just a final question for you, President Mahoney. Are there just like any final thoughts or comments you have for the student body at this time?
I'm going to implore you to persevere. The single best thing you can do now is earn your degree and let us know how we can help you do it. It's been so apparent when you look at the economic impact of COVID-19, how it has hit people without college degrees. It's hit them in terms of unemployment, access to healthcare. A college degree is the best weapon. So the first thing I'm just going to do is implore you to persevere. And if there's help you need, let us know how we can help you, because our single greatest goal is to get you your degrees. The second thing is that, and this is particularly, I think, true for San Francisco State students, we need you to be on the front lines of change. And we need you to make sure that we're on the front lines of change. And I think about that both in terms of creating a truly inclusive culture, making inroads, real inroads into eliminating structural and systemic racism, but also economic inequities. How do we create an equitable economy? Because COVID-19, I think we all knew it was how unequal it was, but boy, did COVID-19 display those inequities. So we have a world-class faculty. We have great academic programs. We have spectacular students. And so the best thing that we can do is help prepare you with degrees to be on that front line of change. So persevere, and then let us know how we can help you. And know that we know this is hard, but that we're here to help and to just get through this together.
Thank you for that, President Mahoney.
Temporary. It
Yeah,
will
it is
be
temporary. And I definitely do think associated students and student government in general is a very necessary, vital part of this conversation on speaking truth to power, on vocalizing student stories and uplifting student stories. Just yesterday, when we had our inauguration ceremony, the new board went directly into working with our first agenda and our first board meeting, where we passed a letter of solidarity for Black students and Black people in San Francisco State and around the world. And it just goes to show that the work never stops, the work continues. Yeah, and you know, we heard stories from Black students on campus. A person that comes to mind is one of our fellow peers, Damian Square, and his experiences here. It just goes to show that work still needs to be done, and work will be done. And I am positive and I am optimistic that this campus and this country and this world will eventually get there. It's going to be challenging, it's going to be hard, but we will do it. Positivity is key. That's what I say.
Thank you.
Perfect. Well, thank you everyone for attending. If PK has any final thoughts, I'm sorry. There are two friends.
No, definitely.
This is your farewell.
Yes, this is gonna be President 1920 signing off. But yeah, no, it was definitely great working with associated students and also getting to work alongside you, President Mahoney. And I believe like all the work that has been in the previous year has only helped us get a step ahead of what we were before. And leaving on those lines, I feel the next board is more than capable, and they have that passion to go for like whatever they want. So I wish them best of luck, and it was great serving as your president. Thank you.
PK, congratulations on your graduation. I know you have incredible things ahead of you. It was a pleasure working with you. Stay connected. Get involved with the Alumni Association. We don't want to, we're not getting rid of you and you're not getting rid of us.
Definitely, yeah. It is like a lifelong relationship.
Mm-hmm. Perfect. Well, thank you, President Mahoney, for taking some time out to meet with us. It is greatly appreciated for answering questions from the student body. And we will definitely see you next time. So thank you. Thank you everyone who attended. Have a good rest of your day.
Thank you, everyone. Stay well.
Yes.